think the question of cost of living has been addressed by various ministers. PM himself acknowledged that it is very much on the government's mind on how we can mitigate the impact of cost of living on households. And one of the most significant ways in which we have done so is to share through the growth and share package. Households have received help that offset the potential rise in the cost of their living more than it actually cost them. So in some households, 3 times over, in some households, up to 5 times over. I'm very curious as to what the SPP proposes to do that could help us to manage the cost of living. I think as responsible members of the decision-making body, we'll be very keen to study if they have very specific proposals that can really help to improve our people's lives and help them to manage the cost of living better. Because if those ideas are good, I see no reason why we wouldn't want to implement them. But if they do not have any specific proposals, then it's really perhaps misrepresenting and leading people to believe that there are easier solutions. So without hearing what specific proposals they have, I really can't comment very much more. I'd like to hear them make the specific proposals, then we can make a response.
But just to add on, you must also remember over the years, our team has not just only been helping residents because of the current situation. We have continuously been doing so. At the Meet the People session, our experience in helping residents through our ComCare program, our own fundraising programs, and the most recent scholarship and bursary program is a significant program that we have launched because we are concerned about what is important to our residents, their children's education, and we want to ensure that the kids are able to continue their studies through our scholarship and bursary program. And we raise it through our own efforts. It is our own local program with our own resources and our network. So that's the other point. And the fact that we are doing things based on what we believe is to help the people who really need it most, and is for also ensuring that we are able to continue to upgrade our residents through efforts of getting them training, employment, because helping people comes in many ways. And we believe that we would like to also ensure that they have stability and long-term solution. So these are the assistance that we have been rendering continuously and will continue to do so when we have the opportunity.
I think it's very good that Josephine and Mayor Zai have managed to persuade shopkeepers around this estate to agree to not to raise prices for the next 6 months. Realistically, that's what you can do for now. We have to watch it. There are no long-term solutions for cost of living. We have to just keep at it.
The key is to make sure that people continue to have the jobs, continue to upgrade their skills, continue to carry on wanting to learn and work hard, and the government to do it best to ensure that the economy continues to grow. Only then that people will be able to have an income and pay for some of the things that they want in life. For the government, when the government budget has surplus, then one of the things that the government always does is to share these surpluses with the people. So from time to time, we will top up their CPF, we will spend more money on their children, we will give the children more EduSave, we will improve the facilities, and basically we try to make sure that what we need to make the living continues to be upgraded. That is the type of economy we have, the kind of facilities we need, and then the kind of skills our people must have in order for them to earn higher wages. So that is the key. World prices will fluctuate. A lot depends on supply and demand. A lot now is affected by unexpected events, whether it is an earthquake or a flood or a fire or any other kind of disaster. So whenever some of these events occur in the production countries where we buy food, then invariably prices of these goods will go up, not just in Singapore but around the world. then governments have different measures to cope with them, to deal with them, and to help our people. I think that is the key. If we are not successful, if we can't attract investments, if there are no jobs, no new jobs created, and if the jobs that we currently have are eventually hollowed out because we have not been competitive, then our workers will be unemployed or their salaries will be cut because they work shorter hours. Then they will be affected. But as you can see, in all these years, whenever we face a crisis, we always come up with a solution. Not that everybody will benefit equally, but most people will benefit from the programs we have. Just that you look at the 2008-2009 global financial crisis. We were like at the almost falling off the cliff in January 2009. And the expectation then was a recession of minus 10%. That is very serious, something that we have not had for a very long time, if at all. Now, if that scenario had happened, I think people would have been hurt, their jobs would have been lost, employers would have to close many of the businesses. But because of the timely measures that the government put in place, the resilience package, helping workers keep their jobs, helping employers keep them on their jobs through a jobs credit scheme, helping companies tide through cash flow issues with a bank financing through a risk-sharing scheme. I think all these measures help to stabilize our people's psychology, help to stable them, and no doubt people, some of them will have cuts. In fact, some have 20% pay cuts, work shorter weeks. But before long, we are bounced back again by the end of 2009, and by 2010, we were actually galloping away with a 14.5% growth. No country has so successfully come out of a recession in such a way. Many countries in Europe today, whether it's including America for that matter, or Japan or other parts, they are still in difficulty, and they still have big problems, and they still have high unemployment. Today, our unemployment is about 2.2%. Most Singaporeans can find a job if they want to, and we actually are trying to encourage our seniors, our retirees, our older ones, our women who are now staying at home to come out and work so that we depend less on foreign workers. And if we don't have foreign workers, it just means that the companies will have to move, or the employers cannot expand. Then the employees working in those companies will also have less opportunity for advancement. This is the real world we're facing. It's not a theoretical one. It's not something that we just say we want to have first world this, first world that, and it can be done. No. You have to work hard at it. Today we have a first world government. Indeed, we have. Many countries want to learn and see how we govern and how we are able to make so much progress with so little resources. Whether it's a big country, small country, they want to learn from us. Of course, we can't teach them everything. Every country is different, and our social, political contexts are different. So we can only share what we have done, and let's see what they can pick up that will be relevant to them.
DPM has shared the cost of living, the long-term issues, how you meet that. When we walk the ground day to day, we are very concerned with our residents about the cost of living. We're watching that very closely. The growth and share package, households gets about 3,000 to 4,000, together with the cash component plus the USAVE rebates plus the utility rebates. If you sort of divide that over the next year, it's about $250, $300 a month, which for some household spending can amount to as much as 40-50% of their household spending. So that's much more than the inflation rate expected. So that will tide them over the next year. We're also adding on to that our ComCare and where we can vouchers to help low-income families. We're watching that. If all prices continue to rise, you must expect inflation to worsen. But if the economy does well, I'm sure that the government, as DPM says, will be there again to see how we can give further help to residents, even on top of the growth and share package. But of course, this must be that we have to grow economically first, then we can share more as we've done in the growth and share package. But inflation and cost of living is a concern that we share very much with residents for the next year, because there are many uncertainties on the horizon.
So we understand all these problems. That's why the government is always looking out for the problems that we are going to face and study measures and come up with programs, concrete ideas on how to get this thing done. We don't just sit on our hands. The Grow and Share package took time to work out. And look at the resilience package for the matter. It is something very new. Other countries have studied this and said, oh, this is something worthwhile doing. But again, it depends on the resources they have. And fortunately for us, we have the resources to cope with all these eventualities.
I would just like to add briefly that I think especially during election time, it is easier to tell people that there is a solution that is painless. It is easy to give them the idea that, look, there are ways that we can resolve this without making adjustments to our life. But ultimately, I think we have to be honest, we have to be responsible in putting forward ideas. It is not about winning an election only. It is about actually delivering on the goods that people expect us. And I think that the way we have chosen to do it is to lay out the cards to Singaporeans. We are a very small country. We buy most of the raw materials that we need for our manufacturing sector. We buy a lot of food from outside. We are a price taker. We are not in a position to influence world prices. We have to be honest with our people and tell them that that is the case. And we have to be honest in explaining the adjustments that we all have to make. And we also have to be honest in sharing with our people that the way to overcome these in the longer term is to make sure that as an economy, we have higher levels of competitiveness compared to many other cities and countries who are trying hard to catch up with us and are catching up with us quite quickly. If we are not honest in presenting the challenges that we face as our country, if we allow people to believe that there are shortcuts, there are easy solutions, yes, we may be able to win votes in the short term, but is it really good for our people? Are we being responsible? And I think our record shows that we've never shied away from telling people that there are tough things that we have to do. They may be unpopular, but it is what will eventually secure the future of their children, our children. It's not our future alone, it's also the future of our children. So yes, some people may say that, oh, this sounds very far and this sounds, a little bit hard for me to grasp. But it is honest, and there's no running away from it. So, like DPM Wong and Minister Dr. Ng have mentioned, we keep a very close watch on the cost of living issues. The residents know that if they have difficulties coping with their daily lives, they can come to us and we will do everything within our means to help them overcome the short-term problems. In the meantime, we also crack our heads to ask ourselves, how can we help them to improve their situations, not just tomorrow, but next year, the year after? How can we help their children? How can we ensure that their children are not deprived of the opportunities that will enable them to do just as well as anybody else has a chance to do in Singapore? So there are no shortcuts, and we always take the more difficult but honest approach to achieving better lives for our people.